Have you ever noticed how your priorities begin to shift as you age? The things that once seemed crucial, like having a big social circle, start to feel less important. Here's the truth. By the time you're in your 70s, you might not actually need friends the way you used to. That might sound a bit shocking, but when you really look at it, embracing independence and putting your well-being first could be one of the best choices you'll ever make. In this video, we'll explore 6 reasons why friendships may no longer be essential in your later years. We'll dive into how your mindset, personal freedom, and even your overall health can improve when you stop feeling obligated to maintain friendships that no longer serve you. This isn't about being lonely. It's about living life on your own terms, without the weight of unnecessary expectations. Stick around to the end, because what you hear might just reshape how you think about aging and yourself. Let's jump in. Number 1. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. One major reason why you may not need friends after 70 is because the stage of life where social approval mattered is behind you. Think about it. How many of your earlier friendships were rooted in wanting to fit in, be liked, or keep up appearances? Whether it was networking at work, attending social events, or simply not wanting to be left out, much of it revolved around being seen and accepted. You've lived through all that. You've built your life, and the opinions of others don't carry the same weight they once did. Fulfillment no longer comes from the outside, it comes from within. There's no pressure to maintain friendships for social clout or reputation. You've earned the right to just be yourself, without explanation. Many younger people stress over how they're perceived, if they're popular, respected, or admired. But by the time you hit your later years, you realize none of that defines your worth. You know who you are, and you don't need a group to reinforce it. Take someone like George, a man in his early 70s who spent decades in the finance world. He was always surrounded by people, coworkers, clients, casual friends, but many of those relationships were built around convenience, not true connection. When he retired, most of those so-called friendships disappeared. At first, George tried to keep in touch, but then came a realization. Why put energy into relationships that were only surface deep to begin with? Instead of clinging to the past, George turned inward. He picked up new hobbies, reconnected with his love of painting, and most importantly, stopped trying to impress anyone. He found a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. No more awkward conversations, no more fake pleasantries, just living on his terms. And that's the takeaway. When you stop chasing validation, you realize how much energy went into friendships that didn't really matter. You don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. You're free to simply be. Number 2. Peace outweighs socializing. As you grow older, something interesting happens. Peace becomes more valuable than constant interaction. In your earlier years, being social might have felt necessary. Parties, phone calls, group meetups, it was all part of staying connected. But with time, a quiet life becomes something to cherish. Not just any quiet, but the kind that allows you to feel at ease, free from drama, expectations, or fatigue. Even the best friendships often come with responsibilities. There are messages to return, invitations to accept, emotional check-ins to manage. It's not that friendships are bad, it's just that after a while, they can start to feel like more work than they're worth. You don't have to keep up with others just to feel involved. You've earned the right to spend your time how you want. Consider Ruth, now 74. She once had a large network of friends, lunch dates, Zoom calls, holiday parties. Her calendar was always full. But slowly, she realized those interactions began feeling more draining than delightful. The conversations turned into reruns. Some friends called only to vent, and others were more interested in gossip than genuine connection. What once brought joy had become an obligation, so Ruth made a change. She stopped saying yes to events she wasn't excited about. She gave herself permission to respond on her own terms. Instead, she leaned into quiet time. She began gardening, bird watching, catching up on novels. Most importantly, she found that solitude wasn't sad, it was calming. That's the gift of this phase in life. There's no pressure to stay constantly engaged. You don't need to prove your social worth. You can choose stillness over noise and rest over routine. So if you've been feeling a little guilty about pulling back from your social life, remember this: you're not isolating yourself. You're discovering a deeper, quieter joy. And that's a beautiful thing. If you're still watching and this message is speaking to you, drop a comment with number 2 below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. Hit that bell so you won't miss what's next. Now, let's move on. Number 3, less friendship, less disappointment. One of life's tougher lessons is realizing not every friend is truly a friend. Over time, you've probably experienced it. People who disappeared when things got tough, relationships that faded without reason, or bonds that felt one-sided. By 70, you've learned that having fewer friends doesn't just mean less social time. It means less disappointment too. Friendships come with expectations. You're expected to be present, to support, to show up. But what happens when those expectations aren't returned? Disappointment. You reach out, but hear nothing back. You give more than you get. At this point in life, is that really what you want to deal with? Likely not. Think about someone like Leonard. He's 78 and has seen many friendships come and go. Some ended naturally, while others faded when he stopped doing all the reaching out. He had friends he'd known for decades who gradually stopped making the effort. It hurt at first. He wondered if he'd done something wrong. But eventually, Leonard realized he hadn't changed. He just stopped overextending himself for relationships that weren't mutual. And that's the thing. When you let go of the idea that you need a crowd around you, you also let go of the disappointment that comes with unmet expectations. No more wondering why someone hasn't called. No more feeling bad when a friendship fizzles. Instead, you turn your energy inward, to the relationships that truly matter, even if that's just the one you have with yourself. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about choosing quality over quantity. Maybe you stay close with 1 or 2 people who truly get you. Or maybe your best relationship is with a family member, a neighbor, or simply yourself. And that's enough. If friendships have ever left you feeling more drained than uplifted, it's okay to let go. It's okay to value simplicity over stress, peace over pressure. You don't need a long list of contacts to be happy. You just need peace and people who truly show up, even if it's just you. Number 4, your time becomes more precious. As we grow older, time becomes our most treasured asset. In earlier stages of life, it often feels like there's always more time to go around. More time to see friends, more time to socialize, and more time to manage relationships. But when you reach 70 and beyond, your outlook begins to shift. You come to appreciate that every hour, every day, every moment truly counts. And with that realization, you naturally start to be more mindful about how you spend it. Friendships, while meaningful, require time and emotional investment. There are phone calls, get-togethers, and plans to coordinate. And while some relationships continue to enrich your life, others may have outlived their purpose, kept going more out of routine than genuine enjoyment. At this stage, it's perfectly okay to ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my time? Does this connection still bring me happiness, or is it simply something I feel obligated to maintain? Consider Gerald, a man in his early 80s who once thrived on a packed social calendar. Dinners, group outings, weekly phone chats. Over time, those once enjoyable moments began to feel like obligations. Conversations dragged, and meetups lacked excitement. Then one afternoon, during yet another lunch filled with shallow chatter, he had a moment of clarity. He didn't want to spend his limited time this way anymore. He began saying no more often. He declined invitations that didn't spark joy. Instead of long, draining conversations, he filled his days with peaceful walks, quiet kneading, and time spent learning new things. And to his surprise, Gerald didn't feel lonely. He felt recharged and more connected to his own well-being. That's the lesson. When you step away from unnecessary commitments, you reclaim something incredibly valuable: your time. You get to choose how you live each moment. You get to focus on what genuinely brings joy and fulfillment. So if you're ever unsure about keeping a friendship going, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because at this age, your time is yours to protect, to enjoy, and to live on your terms. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, comment number 4 below so I know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss out on our content. Now let's keep going. Number 5. True companionship comes from within. There's a common belief that growing older means needing more people around you to avoid loneliness. But here's the truth. The most meaningful companionship comes from within. By the time you reach 70, you've spent decades learning about yourself, evolving, and gaining wisdom. And with that comes a powerful understanding. You are complete on your own. All throughout life, we are conditioned to believe that happiness depends on being social. We're told that being alone equals being lonely. But solitude isn't the same as isolation. In fact, many people find the most peace and clarity when they stop relying on others for validation and instead focus inward. Meet Diane, a 76-year-old woman who used to believe that staying busy with friends was essential. She constantly filled her schedule with coffee dates, check-in calls, and community events. But even with all that socializing, she often felt drained. Many of her friendships had become more about routine than real connection, and often she felt like she was putting on a version of herself to fit in. Then she made a shift. Diane began spending intentional time alone. She treated herself the way she would a cherished friend, with kindness, interest, and respect. She went on walks without reaching for her phone. She visited cafes with just a book for company. She enjoyed her thoughts without needing to share them. And what happened? She felt lighter, happier, and more centered than she had in a long time. That's what true companionship looks like. It's about being okay with who you are and enjoying your own presence. When you embrace this, you don't need constant external noise to feel fulfilled. You don't depend on others to complete your day. You are enough. And here's the unexpected part. When you truly value your own company, you tend to attract more meaningful relationships. People who align with your energy, who don't demand anything from you, who respect your space and bring peace into your life. So if you've ever feared that letting go of certain friendships might lead to loneliness, remember this. The best companion you'll ever have is the one who's been with you all along, yourself. Number 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most empowering choices you can make after 70 is to let go. Let go of the stress of keeping up with friendships that don't feel right anymore. Let go of the idea that your social life defines your worth. Let go of the fear that being alone means being forgotten. Because once you do, you create room for something more meaningful, a life of peace, authenticity, and true freedom. Too often, people hold on to relationships simply because they're used to them. They keep answering calls, accepting invites, and making small talk, even when it doesn't bring any joy. But what if you didn't have to do that anymore? What if you gave yourself permission to walk away from what no longer serves you? Think of Robert, a 79-year-old man who once believed that staying socially active was the secret to aging well. He kept in touch with old acquaintances, showed up to community events, and filled his days with chatter. But one day, he noticed that these activities weren't fulfilling. The conversations lacked depth. The gatherings felt like chores. He wasn't energized. He was tired. So Robert decided to stop forcing it. He let go of friendships that felt hollow. He stopped pretending to enjoy conversations that didn't matter. Instead, he leaned into the activities that made him feel alive: gardening, painting, meditating, and enjoying his own rhythm. And something amazing happened. Life became lighter. He didn't feel burdened by expectations. He didn't feel the need to explain himself. He simply lived on his own terms, and in doing so, he found a deep sense of satisfaction. That's the beauty of letting go. It's not about giving up on people. It's about choosing yourself. It's about making space for what matters and being brave enough to walk away from what doesn't. When you adopt this mindset, everything changes. You stop obsessing over who's calling or who's around. You begin to savor quiet mornings, leisurely afternoons, and peaceful evenings. You create a life that feels good to you, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's. So if you're holding on to friendships out of habit, ask yourself honestly, is this bringing me peace or pressure? And if the answer is pressure, let it go. Because once you do, you'll open the door to a richer, simpler, more fulfilling way to live. Thanks for watching. Remember, letting go of draining friendships isn't about loneliness. It's about freedom and peace. What part of today's video spoke to you the most? Drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If this helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next video.